Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's show of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Ryan DePhillips, joined by our forecaster for this week's show, Joseph Ruch. Now, Joe, when will this cold and snowy pattern end?
Well, that's a great question, Ryan. And unfortunately, it looks like for those of you excited for spring, there's no relief in the near future as this cold, snowy pattern looks to stick around. Luckily, though, temperatures this week look to be a little bit warmer than they were going to be where we were at this point last week. So we do have something to look forward to, but more on that in the extended forecast.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking for a lot of my friends, that might be some good news as they can't wait for spring weather to come. But back to this week's wintry episode, we'll each be doing some nature in the news stories. I'll be covering a story on climate phenomena and another story on some cold and snowy statistics across the Commonwealth this February.
And for me, I'll be talking about a deadly tornado that occurred earlier this week in North Carolina, as well as the future of travel delays at traveling and how they want to mitigate precipitation. Additionally, we have a feature from Salix Iverson on the connection between artificial intelligence and weather forecasting.
That's right. But first, here is Nature in the News.
Late Monday night, a powerful EF3 tornado wreaked havoc on Brunswick County in southeastern North Carolina. This resulted in 3 dead and 10 injured. Brunswick County Sheriff said, "It is something like I've never seen before. A lot of destruction. It's going to be a long recovery process." A storm survey team from the National Weather Service assessed some of the damage on Tuesday and gave the twister a preliminary rating of an EF3 with winds upwards of 160 miles per hour. Oddly enough, the tornado was spawned by the ongoing winter storm that draped the nation in heavy snow and ice as warm air and cold air clashed in the south. Over 50 homes were damaged, and several of those 50 were completely destroyed. Early on Monday, another deadly tornado made landfall near Damascus, Georgia, located near Early County. This was spawned around 5 p.m. and was also given an EF2 rating. So it's important to remember, just because it's winter, you can't let your guard down for severe weather.
Climate phenomena such as the stratospheric polar vortex or sudden stratospheric warmings, SSWs, are pivotal for winter weather. But what exactly are these phenomena? We must first start with the word stratosphere. This is the atmospheric layer 5 to 30 miles above Earth's surface. That's also above the atmospheric layer responsible for weather, the troposphere. Thus, stratospheric polar vortices are regions of well below normal temperatures that originate from the polar regions and are located in the stratosphere. SSWs are winter phenomena where the polar stratosphere warms at the expense of westerly winds that dramatically weaken or even switch direction. As a result, stratospheric polar vortices tend to break down and when conditions are right, can result in cold air in our neck of the woods. For example, a SSW formed in the North Pole in early January, which resulted in these vortices extending into the central and eastern states a few weeks later. However, more research still needs to be conducted to truly understand climate patterns relating to SSWs and stratospheric polar vortices.
Travel delays may be a thing of the past. A new mode of transportation known as Hyperloop plans to utilize underground tubes and travel at ultra-fast speeds. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, a company based in California, is one of the major players in this space working on the new mode of transportation. The chief engineering officer of their company said, "By being a fully enclosed system, we are basically immune to those kind of very regular weather events that cause so much delay and disruption in existing modes of travel." Many companies are beginning to dip their feet in the water, such as Virgin Hyperloop. They're based in California, and they just brought passengers aboard the firm's Nevada test facility as its researchers were exploring the concept of Hyperloop travel. These pods aim to travel upwards of 670 miles per hour. They plan to launch by 2030. While this is an interesting concept, lots more research and tests must be done before this can be deemed safe and useful.
So far this February, the cold and snowy pattern has been a big story for the Commonwealth. As of this past Tuesday, State College's average February temperature of 25.59 degrees Fahrenheit is 3 degrees below the average accompanied with a below average high temperature of 31.6 degrees and a low temperature of 19.6 degrees. Not only that, this February's snow totals have been impressive with a total of 18.4 inches. In a whopping 126 years of record keeping, that ranks as the 8th most on the list. This cold and snowy pattern has been associated with cold air streaming in from Canada, combined with a favorable storm track to produce snow in our region. While some are sick of this weather pattern, some skiers, snowboarders, and hikers alike have been enjoying it. It is February after all, and it's still winter, so only Mother Nature can decide when this pattern will end.
I'm Joe Ruch here with your central Pennsylvania forecast, and well, quite the active stretch of weather to end this week. Started off active, a nice little mellow outbreak throughout the midweek, but here we are dealing with another significant system. So by Friday, we're just going to be dealing with the remnants of this, but plowable snow expected for central Pennsylvania as well as parts of New England. But as you head south and east here in central PA, they're going to be dealing with some mix, another icy system. Thank God we're going to miss out on the ice if you're not a fan of that last system Monday, which we really made off well. We could have been dealing with some significant power outages, but all rain as you head to the coast. So this significant system will finally start pulling out of the region. And what does that give way to? Well, on Saturday, we're going to stay mainly dry with those few lingering showers early, but dry for the most part, and this is a much needed break after this active stretch of weather. However, come Sunday, that high pressure that was just off the map in that last map will move into our region, so we get a nice break. Some clouds will finally begin to clear, so the sun will be out and shining Sunday. So if you do plan to get out and about, keep that in mind, and we're going to stay dry again. However, you'll see on the western side of this map some precipitation, and that will likely impact us Monday if we're going to experience it. Stay tuned though for that in the extended forecast. So now for your weekend outlook, Friday 35 degrees, that snow will begin to taper off. As we do head into Friday night, we're going to be dry by this point. Clouds begin to break, so there will be some stars out, but it's chilly, 19 degrees. So if you are out and about, keep that in mind, as well as anything that was wet will refreeze during those hours. Come Saturday, 27 degrees, but we're going to stay dry and mostly cloudy, so a classic day here in central PA. And then for Sunday, 32 degrees, so we don't break that freezing mark, but the sun comes out and shines, so it is quite a trade-off. Important to note though, the average temperature is 38 for this time of the year, so going to be a flat-out cold weekend if you're out and about. But be sure to try and enjoy Sunday if you can, because it's going to be the day during this forecast period where if you have any plans, you're going to want to get them done, because come Monday could be some more precipitation.
When most people think of artificial intelligence, self-driving cars or a burger-flipping machine may come to mind. But research is being done at Penn State to bring artificial intelligence into the forefront of the tornado warning decision-making process. I spoke with Dylan Steinkruger, a PhD student at Penn State who is at the front of this groundbreaking research. In order to understand Steinkruger's research, it is necessary to know the definition of artificial intelligence.
And so artificial intelligence is really, maybe at a basic level, is trying to use things like computers, technology to simulate human activity.
Many artificial intelligence, or AI systems, use machine learning, which describes the models that the AI system uses to take in data and information. Steinkruger's research combines AI and machine learning techniques with meteorology and severe weather forecasting.
And so what we actually set out to do was to see if we could machine learning techniques, artificial intelligence techniques, to try to take the data that's available and give a better guess as to whether or not a particular storm is going to or not going to produce a tornado. And so this kind of evolved over the past 2 years But what it eventually turned into was something a little bit more than just, trying to maybe determine using AI techniques what or will not end up being important in kind of the tornado warning decision process. But it really kind of morphed into this idea of trying to be able to take data and actually, in some ways, replicate the human decision-making process, to try to, assist forecasters, really to try to emulate that decision-making process that they're going through, maybe to produce guidance to help with situational awareness, using AI to kind of take all that data that's available and produce a warning product that looks similar to what a human forecaster is going to do.
While the future of this particular AI system may be a bit unclear at the moment, Steinkruger believes that his AI system offers immense value to forecasters.
Result of it's going to be what it's actually going to do. It may be a little bit blurry right now, but some ways that I think in the near term that we see some potential benefit is, again, really this idea that the AI system that we're building is really trying to replicate what a human is doing. And so, a lot of times, forecasters are working around the clock, 24/7, constantly, coming in and out of shifts. Having a forecaster there that is essentially able to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year without having to take a break, without there being shift changes, without there being, different forecasters coming into, say, an office with maybe different warning thresholds. Having that same decision-making process going on with an AI system is something that we can get. And so really consistency, I think, is one key aspect that an AI system potentially provides, because you're going to get the same answer given the same storm every single time. And that's not going to change across different weather forecasting offices. It's not going to change across different shifts. And it will hopefully produce maybe a more consistent warning guidance product across those different WFOs, those different shifts.
Steinkruger hopes that his AI system can eventually be used operationally by forecasters in the National Weather Service and has already heard great feedback.
Sure. Yeah. So we've had a lot of good conversations, and so that's one thing that my advisor and my collaborator too, Paul Markowski, has been great about. He has some really great connections with some people, particularly down in the Southeast, who actually helped kind of with navigating the Masters project. So there's a couple of weather forecast offices down there, and then their SOOs, which are their science operation officers at those NWS offices, who kind of handle some research into things, maybe keeping the forecasters up on some of the cutting edge research techniques that are going on there. So we've actually had some conversation with 5 or 6 SOOs down in the Southeast region. And they've seemed to be receptive to the idea. Again, a lot of the vocabulary I'm actually using when kind of describing some of the benefits of the AI system is really vocabulary that's come from them.
Overall, Steinkruger hopes that his AI system can be seen as a helpful tool for forecasters, not something that may take their jobs in the future. For Whether or Not, I'm Salix Iverson.
And now for your extended forecast, I'm Joe Ruch, and just before we get to that, a quick recap of this weekend. So Friday, we're going to be dealing with the lingering impacts of that system, likely spending Saturday digging out. And look at that Saturday low, 9 degrees. So on the backside of this system, that cold front will really bring some frigid temperatures. Come Sunday, high pressure moves in. We don't break freezing, but a nice little break. So here we are, your extended forecast that average 38 degrees for this time of the year. So it's looking like right around average after a relatively cold past week. And something else you'll notice, not much precipitation in this forecast. So a nice change. Yes, we're going to stay mainly cloudy, but that's what you expect for winter here in central PA. The one threat I will bring up Monday, a few scattered rain and snow showers are possible. Won't amount to anything, no freezing issues, as we're going to stay really above average or at average for the rest of the week. As you head midweek, though, we're going to stay dry and some sun will be peeping out both Tuesday and Thursday. Then clouds build back again Friday, just in time for your weekend.
And now for the Weather Whiz quiz question. As of this past Tuesday, what has been State College's average February temperature? Is it A, 25.59 degrees Fahrenheit? Is it B, 27.29 degrees Fahrenheit? Is it C, 27.59 degrees Fahrenheit? Or is it D, 28.34 degrees Fahrenheit.
And the correct answer is A, 25.59 degrees Fahrenheit. That's nearly 7 degrees below the freezing mark. And come to think of it, Ryan, I can't remember the last time we reached 40 degrees here in State College.
Yeah, it's a great point, Joe. It actually has been since February 6th since we've seen a temperature reading that was at least 40 degrees, as State College's high temperature that day was a quote-unquote sizzling 43 degrees. But anyway, that's all we have for this week's episode of Whether or Not. I'm Ryan DePhillips.
And I'm Joe Ruch. Have a great weekend.